You could do it. And then I think we share this one. All right. Now I think we should be good to go. See if YouTube's connecting. All right, they're coming back. They're coming back. My bad. My bad. All right, so let's take a look real quick at the SPY. So with war happening, breaking out, and we've just seen the Russia-Ukraine war. That was supposed to be like a 3-day war. It was supposed to be easy, quick, and it's still going on. Wars usually will take a lot longer. I don't think Israel's been in a war since 1973, so it's been a minute from when they've officially been in, but absolutely horrible actions. From war, you would expect probably oil to hike. That is hiking right now. I haven't seen anything so far where actually any oil fields have been disrupted, blown up, any passages of moving oil, any drilling, nothing is really. So I don't know how sustainable oil would be, but oil was up about 4.5% last night. For futures, that's starting to already come down. So SPY has a gap down, which is actually a really interesting gap. It's a little bit stronger than I would have thought it would be. I thought this gap would have been a little bit like 419, 418, something crazy. We're only really off. I mean, considering everything that's been happening over the weekend, we're really only off $4 from the highs, not even from the close, from the highs. Let's do one little Fibonacci test over here. We'll start from here, pre-market lows to session high. We didn't quite get down to the 50% if we're going to use, this is all pre-market still. But if we're using the pre-market numbers, we didn't really get down to a 50% retracement yet. That could be for even after hours. I mean, even last night when this thing starts opening, 50% retracement is 424.63. So I'd really like to see that hold. Obviously, we do have VPOC down from yesterday, which is fine. I mean, it's allowed to be. It's allowed. I mean, we just had a war breakout. It's okay. But they're actually holding this thing fairly decently strong. I would think at open. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen today at open. It's going to be very interesting. My theory would be, my thought process would be that, and this is not off technical basis, there's a lot of people that heard there's a pretty insane war breaking out. Who knows where that leads to? Who knows what the response is? And there might be a little bit more uncertainty, panic, worry, and we get an initial drop. If that initial drop comes in and we start to hold 424.58, and we don't really start to break down that, then I think that's the panic drop, panic open, just people have a bunch of sell orders, get me out of this market. And then I think we could actually bounce from there. This market's already showing me that we do have some kind of strength. And if we get that panic sell, I think somewhere around 424.58, 63, somewhere in that zone would be a decent spot to hold. And then we could actually maybe rally off there. Could we go positive on the day? I don't know. That would be a little wild. We actually go positive after war breaks out. I don't know. Let's take a look at the levels though. We'll go the bullish and bearish case. Adam says also, DJ, does today's holiday usually have impact on volume? Yes. Less liquidity today. Good point. Yep. So stock market is open. Bonds are closed. Today we'll have a lot less volume than normal too. So be careful trading today. It's going to act a little bit strange. I think it might be a little wider spreads. Depends on what stocks you trade. Something like Tesla still going to have decent volume. You might not notice as much, but some of the lower ones, be careful. It's going to be a little bit of a strange day, I think. All right, let's take a look to the higher lower sides of things. So we did say that 424 was an initial spot on the daily. I'm looking for this level right here, 426.76. So at open, maybe a small drop. Otherwise, yeah, right in that 425.50 and then 424. So that would just all be a retest down to here. We still have a few levels. If we do drop, panic drop to 424.60. The one thing I don't like about that is now we are dropping below that 200 on a daily. Otherwise, you should have some decent support and everything can still hold. So we'll see. I don't know. Today's going to be interesting, especially the first. I mean, you normally would have less volume today, normally. And I'm wondering how the news from Israel impacts the volume today. If that's going to put a little bit more people onto alert for the stock market just to see what's happening. But we'll see. Qs, a little bit of a gap down. I would be looking for. We got some kind of support at 360.23. Tech was a lot stronger on Friday, so I think that would remain strong. So that will probably bounce before SPY does. But we came in, we really fill any type of, we filled the gap. So that's been filled. We haven't really came back up to test this 369.93. We're still in this downward channel, almost a perfect bounce right off of that on Friday. And we'll probably get a little chop. But again, if we do open and the rug is pulled right away, I'd probably be looking for about 360. I'll call it 360 flat, but maybe we get down to like 359.60, something like that. Somewhere in that zone should be a relatively decent support. I wouldn't suspect we have any news during the live trading market today from Israel. There could be surprise attacks, and that we got to watch out for that because anything serious would be crazy. I think they were attacking Jerusalem last night. So I don't know. I don't know. Everything's going to be developing, and there's going to be some wide swings. Lucian's in the house. Good morning, Lucian. All right, let's take a look at TLT. I don't think we should see too much really anything from. So pre-market. We'll take a look at this one. I'm not sure how TLT trades when the bond market's closed. So I don't know how much weight I'd put behind that one today. And then we can look at crude futures. I don't know. I know it's CL it is just CL in TradingView. I know TOS, if you trade with TOS, it's the /CL. So gap up on futures. So they're up pretty decent. This would look relatively strong. We did just get rejected at 87.31. So watch to see if 87.31 gets broken. I think the next level there would be about 89.54. Anything related to oil should be strong. But again, none of the attacks really affected any of the process of pumping oil, drilling oil. So I think this actually could come down. So be careful. This might be a sell the rip. I think this could be eventually a sell the rip until something happens with any of the oil drilling process. LUV. Let's see if I got the YouTube back. Yep, I got YouTube back. Sorry for anybody that just was on there before and just got disconnected. That was me hitting the wrong buttons. But welcome back. All right, we got LUV. So LUV is just kind of hanging out. LUV already fading like the 20 more minutes ago. Let's see, smaller time frame. Interesting hammer. Yeah, I don't know. You're gonna hit a good resistance up here on this one. Still looks a little bit in chop zone, I think, but 20. If you're looking to short this thing, probably look for 27.08. You should have one more level, probably 27.20. So any stops above that, if you're looking to go short. I don't know how much weight I would put behind this one hammer if that's a real thing. I mean, that could look decent. You'd put your stop below that wick if you want to go bullish. This looks like a bear flag. Maybe we find a little support down here. Let's see longer term, anything crazy. Not so much. We've had pretty much panic drop on this thing already. It's down massive. The fact that we got through 28.57, not a good sign. So it's got a lot of work to do before it goes bullish. But does that mean it can't go bullish today? Not necessarily. And there's our highway from Friday. So if this thing has any shot of a bigger term reversal, really you got to break out of 27.53. I would imagine the bears are going to push that level down a lot. So might just get a little more more chop. Let me see. Was there any other tickers that you guys had? Any gaps? ARM. Yep. I know Jeremy was saying ARM was looking a little bit like it wanted to be strong. So keep an eye on that one. Let me just add this one. Let me add this to the list. We'll see if it's got any potential. It's still inside this little channel we've been building for the last looks like about 2 weeks. So I think this is also a retest gap technically. So we're gapping a slight little bit. It does look decently strong. I would expect maybe a pullback first, especially with the resistance. So we do have resistance 54.44. Otherwise, that is a nice double bottom, good high wave. This is a good retest. Neckline is probably going to be all the way up at 56.25. So there could be a potential for a swing trade potentially here. We still technically have a gap that needs to be filled, $60.77. So it's decent attempt. Valuation on ARM for me right now is just, I wouldn't consider it for the long term for me, but you do have that double bottom in there. It looks decent. Let's see how this thing wants to hold pre-market. Yeah, VPOC is up a little bit, and again, support from yesterday, $54.05. We could watch it. I'm not really sure how I want to play it, just because there is a pretty decent resistance a little bit higher. So we'll have to see. Delta potential gap and go. Yeah, any of these airlines, I would imagine, would be down on this news on the Israel war, because now you have oil spiking again. All of the airlines, they should, I think most of them, they do have contracts already built in. So the fluctuation of oil really doesn't impact them too much, because they're buying about a year out. That being said, a war in Israel could last a very long time, and I think the market could be a little panicked about how long that could last, and what responses there are, and what other attacks there are, and does it affect oil in general? How long is it going to be? And when they do have to renew some of their contracts, or when they are buying oil, they are going to have to be buying much higher pricing. So eventually, I think this thing does come down the line and play out, where any of this does affect any airlines, probably cruise lines as well, to a negative side. But that is a decent gap and go. Yeah, so see if we can get a bounce on this one, actually. See if we get a bounce to 36.05. If we could, that would be an interesting spot to go short. I do like Delta more than I like LUV. LMT, yeah, that could be a good one for it's already gapping up to 420, but that would be your defense. Lockheed Martin, massive gap up. A lot stronger than I thought it should have been. So we do have a couple levels of resistance above us. We should still have a decent amount of room on this thing. Next real stop on this would be in a bullish direction, 423.68. And then if we can get past that, I think we'd be looking for, I guess the immediate next stop would be 424.90 after that point. These levels I would think could hold. You have a decent support down on this thing. I would say somewhere around 418.35. So I'm going to let this thing move. That is a big, massive gap. Technically a retest gap from yesterday. It's tough to go long on a gap that is up $20 already. Technical retest gap. It's still showing a little strength. I think this thing could still be a buy the dipper, but I would like to see I don't even know how I want to see this dip. If we could find support at 418.35, I think that would be a decent attempt to try it. After that, if it breaks through, the next spot would be 415. See if that one could hold. I almost rather wait for the 415. While I was a little hesitant, is because then if we break through this, that's now going to be our resistance spot. And that's going to limit us if we do try to get 415. But we'll see what happens on LMT. We'll keep that one on the list. Push that one a little bit higher as well. Yeah, it's a monster gap. Monster gap. Anything in defense will be interesting today. Clarice wants to look at Disney, DIS. So Disney had a last two days were pretty good. Thursday, Friday, pretty good. Nice little gap up. There's a lot of buying already. We do have a little bit of resistance, probably about 84.29, and then a little bit more at 85.37. I would say 85.37 won't be a big one. That being said, this is a retest gap. You're about 50-50. So I'm looking for support, probably about $83.13. You're about 50%. You're about a 1-to-1. So 1-to-1 to the downside, 1-to-1 if you could get up to the higher side. So about 50% in the middle right there. I would like to, not that I would like, I don't care either way, but I think this one fades probably. So if we could get any bullish pop on this one, I think this would be looking to probably fade some of these people in the last 2 days with some okay volume, nothing too crazy, but some okay volume. I think some of those people might be interested in selling, but you do have a gap up, and that looks different than a lot of other things in this market. So pretty decent there. Let's take a look at XOM real quick. XOM's another retest gap, but it is gapping up about just under $3. That one's got some more room on it. Still about 111. Again, fairly good gap. It's already up. I would like to see this thing pull back to maybe 109.12 if we could get that. Let's see if we did that pre-market at all. This was probably, yeah. So this was our dip. We already kind of hit that. I'm gonna have to put this one on the list. Again, I would like to see this thing come down before we do anything. But if we get a hang above this this VPOC from pre-market 109.93, and we already came down and retested some of those spots, it might be decent to continue in the long direction. All right, we've got Neo. Let me flip back to the daily. We'll check out Tesla as well. We'll check out Nvidia. Neo, nothing too crazy. Tesla. Let me remove some of these. 1, 2, 3. What do we got? 10 more minutes left. Let me know if you guys got any more tickers that you guys want to look at. Tesla. That one is gapping down pretty significantly. We should have a resistance. Our first resistance on this one is about 256.85. Probably look for some kind of support if we get down to 254.79. So we'd like to see this one kind of fade a little bit lower at open. Again, if we do open and have that panic sell, we got to see where these things kind of come in. And the market, I'm looking at this market and I'm thinking these things honestly did not fall that much. I'm not seeing any real panic sell. I mean, typical moves in crude, I'm expecting that. I'm still seeing a little bit of strength in this market. I think we still actually have some buy the dip. So I wouldn't be panicked on the short side of things. I would like to see the market come down a little, or at least individual names at open give us some better opportunities. Nvidia's got a lot of room in it. So this is a gap and go to the bearish side. If we could get some kind of bounce off of 446.52, we had an incredibly strong day. Nice little breakout candle. Broke through a bunch of VPOCs. We've hit our head on one of them, 458.19, which is this one right here. That one got rejected. But yeah, a little bit more of a pullback. Give me like a $3 pullback, maybe even come down to like 444.76. And then we have Friday's VPOC 455 would be our target. So there's a decent amount of room on the vids. Would like a little bit of a sell, maybe high wave candle, something like that. MPC. Yeah. Yeah, the problem is support though. MPC next target will be about 147.18. So you can make about $1 to the higher side. Maybe we find a little support at 144.72. I think I'm roughly $1. Still a little bit more value to the short side. Unless this thing just obviously breaks out through that 147 zone, and the next stop would be 149. Let's see if we get a pullback here too. Interesting looking set of candles. Really, we're still playing this one. We do have a little bit of a bull trap. That bull trap gets taken out, and yeah, probably 144.85. So again, I would like to see a little bit of a pullback on this and get some better risk reward on this. Otherwise, interesting support we got to bounce off of. And again, I would be bullish. So I am bullish everything crude still. It's up a lot, and there's only not that there's only war, but there's a war going out, which is why we're breaking out, but nothing really affecting oil yet. Disney we looked at already. Yep. So that's just a little bit of a pullback. So I'm looking for a pullback on this one first, and then we could maybe take a look at Disney, but really, really fantastic last 2 days. I just don't want to be the one buying after 2 days of already people being profitable, and with the resistance sitting up at 85.42. So I would need a pullback on that one. TSEM, Israeli company. Yeah, and that gap doesn't look great. Lots of selling into it already. Tower Semiconductor still hanging out at a little bit of a longer term potential support. Otherwise, this gap doesn't look friendly. Yeah, I wouldn't confidently be shorting this one because we're at that longer term support. But that's a pretty horrific gap down below VPOC. This thing probably does have a decent amount of room. I mean, we have a lot of room on this thing. It's very, very hard just on a news cycle to make a good bullish case. Yeah. Let's throw this one higher on the list. I can't play it bullish. I'd have to play it bearish. We're just sitting at that little peak. But again, very, very negative news for TSEM. A lot going on there right now and then you have that gap, that doesn't look good. Still hanging out inside one little candle. I guess so you can play it 2 ways. This is how I would try it. If you're going to try to throw an R at it, see if you get a little bit of a maybe bounce here. So look for either 2360. That would be you shorting any type of rip. Otherwise, you could take the breakdown of, I think this is Wednesday's candle. So if Wednesday's candle breaks down 2317, then I think we should have more room. But yeah, that's not a good looking gap. Not whatsoever. CVX has a nice bullish gap and go. CVX, Chevron. Yep. Chevron, Exxon Mobil. Again, the one big thing with this is I don't really see. I mean, I don't really see anything that happened with oil. That's my biggest thing. And these things are already gapping up, but that is a bullish gap and go right into resistance. I would expect a little bit more chop, but I'd be leaning toward the bullish side. I still want to be bullish everything on crude, on gas. Let's see if we can take a look at Oxy. OXY. OXY would be, yep, there's another retest gap, and that's into resistance as well. Yeah, Chevron's the best in terms of at least it's a gap and go, but you're right into resistance. I also think every single person's like, let's go bullish oil. And then usually when everybody's on the same page, it doesn't work. So I think waiting. I think waiting on a lot of crude. I think the money was made last night. TSM may get haunted right before Halloween. That's crazy. That would be crazy. And Ghost just pops out. Depending on the markets. So TSEM might get halted depending on their markets. Yeah, I don't know how their markets are going to be affected. Honestly, I don't know if their markets are open today now or if they're actually closing the markets. As that, I don't know. That's a very good point. if you're gonna misspell something, at least it's in the right season. You're absolutely right. That is a 3-bar reversal on Oxy though, so that would be your bullish indicator. Yeah, we'd have to see if this thing comes back down to 61.55, and then you're kind of just playing that retest. Let's take a look real quick at NVIDIA. NVDA. I didn't hear anything about like the markets being closed there. So I don't know. That's a very good point. NVIDIA we already did take a look at. Let's take a look at AMD. AMD, which had some really good Friday action, very, very strong. Kind of back into the support range. We do have resistance from Friday. That should be 106.78. And then, of course, the high of the day, which would be 107. We're still hanging out above 106, which is decent. Kind of had some support on this one as well. Nice higher lows, nice higher highs. If we could get a little bit higher, so if we could get anywhere now at this point to 109.21, this thing could actually be off to the races. So I would be leaning a little bit more bullish on AMD as well. I mean, if we get a really big pullback, I'm looking for like 103.36. That kind of puts us right back into the chop fest, but I don't know. Atwin, if you're here, I'm using the advanced volume bar study at TOS. Excited to see how it works. I got a new toy. So Adam's got some new toys to play with. Sanjay says Googs, Googl. What I got like a minute. Okay. So we got Google. Yeah, they look like NVIDIA. They look like AMD. A lot of the tech is still holding. This is what I'm saying. That was horrible, egregious news. And the market is still kind of holding up, at least for now. Again, at open, I'm expecting a little bit of volatility right at open, which is now. So let's see if we get that little bit of a sell-off. And then I think the buyers have shown that they're still interested in buying the dip. So I'm not really saying I think this market just falls apart. But that was the opening bell. Everybody out there in YouTube land, appreciate you joining us each and every day. I think we have Maloney on tomorrow. We'll see all of you guys then.